You just got fed a spiritual message.
That message is going to be taken a little bit further by the time I get
I
done.
yield.
With that, if anybody wants a copy of my resume so they know who and what I am, I know some of you guys might.
Come in.
Hey, Dave. I've got copies for you if you want it. You're free to have it. I got a little lesson here that goes along with the prayer that I want to just read real quick. I wrote this about 2 years ago, and I wrote it by half from my mother, which was down visiting. So I want to read this to you real quick, and it goes parallel with the prayer. I remember it as if it was today and not 51 years ago. It was a dry, cool, brisk morning in northern Minnesota. It was before sunup, and my grandmother and mother were up, and Dad had already gone to work. Mom was getting the rest of my brothers and sisters ready for Sunday morning church when I decided to take a bike ride in an attempt to escape this dreadful day. The sun was just making its way above the treetops in the distance of that clear morning. I knew it was about 40 minutes until we had to get into the car and drive that 5 minutes to the local church. I got on my bicycle and headed down a dirt road that went into the woods behind our home. I rounded the corner about a half-mile down and looked to my right to notice the wild roses, some half open with the rise of the warm sun. The corner was also an uphill trek and slowed my little legs to a stop, for which I had to walk the bike to the top of the level ground to go forward. I got back on the bike and continued deeper into the woods. The small rock hill was on my right, and I was approaching an old can and trash dump site to the left. Back in those days, we used to dump in our own properties, all our cans and debris. I came to a sudden stop in front of the dump as I heard loud crashing sounds in the area of the dump, which was about 60 feet from me. As brave as I would like to think I was, my body was instantly filled with fear as I could feel the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I froze with both feet on the ground on each side of the bike. As I stood there trying to get a look at what it was, I heard the crash again, which seemed more violent and directed towards me. I knew that bears were throughout these woods, but thought it would be very eerie that the loud rushing I heard seemed so close, but I could not see it. I could hardly make myself move, let alone continue my ride. Since going forward was no longer an option, I turned the bike around, and with the eyes of my ears, I managed to get back onto the bike and nearly broke the chain from taking off so fast. Needless to say, I got home in time to lie down the bike and jump into the car just in time to prevent my mother from getting mad at me. It took me a few days before I could get up the courage to go back to the site, but when I did, I discovered by the teeth marks at the base of some young poplar trees. Even at that age, I knew the many types of animals that lived in the woods, and came to the conclusion that the creature I feared so greatly on that day was only a porcupine enjoying an early morning meal. I am now 57 years old, and it was just recently that I understood what had happened that day and why. I always used to think that God had gotten upset with me for not wanting to go to church. I could not have been more wrong. I believe the real reason was in the 10 Commandments. To be exact, the 5th, honor thy father and thy mother. That taught me a valuable lesson. I was going to disobey my mother because she wanted me to go to church. I didn't want to go to church. And you don't have to go to church. The temple of God is here within each one of us. Okay, we're here for the de facto versus the de jure. The de facto government under Black's Law, 4th edition, which is, quote, one that maintains itself by display of force against the will of the rightful legal government and is successful, at least temporarily, in overturning the institutions of the rightful legal government by setting up its own in lieu thereof. De jure, Black's Law, 6th edition. It wasn't in the 4th for some reason, I don't know why. Quote, of right, legitimate, lawful, by right and just title. In this sense, it is a contrary of de facto. In the beginning, Genesis chapter 3, 1 through 6, the serpent deceived the woman, who then consented to the deceit and ate the forbidden fruit, from which she believed would give her knowledge between good and evil, but did the opposite. The fraud begins with the birth certificate, and it goes on to the Social Security card, driver's license, marriage certificate, and any certificate as far as that goes. The quasi-Q trust is supposedly pronounced SEDEQ. I'm going to pass these out. I got a copy for everybody here. I'm just going to go ahead and you guys keep these. I'm going to just go ahead and hit a couple of them here. The whole thing is worth reading and going through and understanding. And it's very, very interesting as you find out what it is and how it was created in 1666. If you remember what happened in Parliament back in 1665, we've seen some movies on it. The plagues that plagued London, and what they end up doing is burning the city. Sorry, gentlemen, to try to get rid of the plagues.
Hey, is there any way you could shut those doors? We couldn't get them to shut.
Shut it all the way.
A lot of noise coming.
The air conditioner's just going to keep pulling them open.
That's all right.
Oh,
All right.
I can shut the air off, but then...
No, that would be bad.
yeah, it will be strung up. Yes, you will.
So what they did is they set up this Sestate K Trust, V Act, Trust Act of 1966. The rule of the use of the capital letters used in a name, when capital letters reused anywhere in a name, all capitals, this always refers to a legal entity or a fiction, company or corporation, no exceptions. So that's where that comes involved. One of the main things that I know for a fact that any paper or any form, our codes, our state codes, our state statutes, the UCCs, and all these other codes, they're patented and or copyright. If you look on the bottom of the Florida state statutes, you'll see a history on each one of the laws, and they're getting more and more of them all the time, and it's got a copyright notice on it. So,
And where do we go back and establish copyright in this country? There's an act.
Yeah, there is an act for that too.
Does
I
everybody
don't have it, but if
understand
anybody
that? It's called
knows,
the Copyright Act.
There is a copyright act.
1790. It's a little over a page long. You very definitely need to read it, because everything that's happening today is connected with that copyright.
you say it was
That Copyright
1790?
Act.
I think it was.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I did not realize that until I heard a call Friday night.
Good. Somebody
The
brought it
guy's
up.
name is Don Schiavone, and he is preaching the same thing that Ken Dost is preaching. If you will listen to Ken Dost, Exiting Babylon, YouTube, you're going to have to listen to it 3 or 4 times. He talks about copyright, the Copyright Act of 1790, and it's very important that we understand how they're operating. And I'm going to be very brief because you've got the house, you've got the floor. But let me say this, and then I'm going to shut up. The way this whole system is working is they have stolen our intellectual property. They have stolen our identity. They have stolen our signature. And the way they have done it is through, does anybody have the name copyrighted in this room? No. Okay, you're considered a non-registered person, or a non-registered
I did
whatever.
copyright mine.
Okay, well, you're not. Okay, so when that happens, they can come in without your knowledge and take your copyright. They have taken all of our copyrights and they have used it for their own benefit. Very important concept to understand. Very important, because it's It's beyond belief. But listen to those videos on YouTube, and it will educate you.
Who did you say that was put it on again?
Ken
Does.
Exiting Babylon. It's one of the latest. I think it's 518, but he has an even later one that talks about the same thing, and it's sick. It's this month. But he keeps getting closer, and then this Friday night call, which is a court of record number, the 866. I don't know what the playback is. It's probably on YouTube also, and I don't know when they're going to put it up. But the guy's name is Don Schiavone, S-C-H-I-A-V-O-N-E, S-C-H-I-A-V-O-N-E. Those two guys are in agreement with each other, but they have come from different directions, totally. But they're on the same path.
Okay, that's great. That ties all this together. Now we can go and confirm it. I don't expect anybody to believe what I say up here. That's why I'm giving you what I have, so we can all get on the same sheet of music, and hopefully we can get more people to show up to this thing here, and we can do something about it. Because in the long run, the only thing that we can do is have an assembly of people under the Constitution. And not to get off track right now, but who can tell me the five rights, if you want to call them rights, under the First Amendment? Under the First Amendment.
Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press, the right to redress of grievances, and freedom of religion.
And freedom of religion.
That's all five.
So we just did 3 of them in here already, which we just did. I just handed you out a bunch of paperwork. That's freedom of press. We've already had a prayer, freedom of religion. We are assembled. We are here in our freedom of speech as we're conversing back and forth. What happened to the other 2? The assembly and the right to redress.
They've taken them away.
And if they take any one of those away, they've taken them all. That's why this meeting to me is so important, because I'm trying to get a group of people of Charlotte County to step up responsibility to create a lawful assembly. It's not going to happen overnight, but there's some very prominent and important people in here right now that have the same desires that I may have. So it's a start, and that's the only way we're going to get it done, is we're going to start somewhere. But I'll let you guys read the rest of this, and this goes into what all this is leading up to, because we're going to move along a little bit quicker than I care to, but we're going to anyway. In the beginning, the two birth certificates. Here's some more reference and reading. You want to hand this out too? And just to touch on this a little bit, again, that all capitals word, there's a name for it. The Chicago Style Manual, section 11.147, calls it a gloss, G-L-O-S-S, all capital. Is an all-cap form of a word in America's Sign Language, which is considered a foreign language, pursuant to the rules of English language. Now, if anybody's been with the site of David Wynn Miller, David Wynn Miller has discovered, he is a federal postal clerk, and this is what you would pull up to get on his site. You just put in a colon, capital letters federal, dash, postal, dash, court. And you can go anywhere on his site. What he has done is when you get documentation, he calls it the correct sentence structure, communication, phrase, syntax, grammar, performance, writing. When you get a summons, it is nothing but babble. And what this man has done is taken that summons and wrote them back in response to respond properly, and it's dropped from that point on, because they can't respond properly. A summons is just I used to tell everybody when I served them in the sheriff's office that a summons is just a polite way of your request to go to court and talk to somebody about a problem they have with you. I was wrong even back then. It's not just a request, it's a fraud. It's a deceit. One that we often consent to. And you shouldn't have to consent to it. The proper way to deal with a paper like that is you've got 30 days to respond to it, and best take it to somebody. Hopefully you could go through David Windmiller's site and figure out what to do for yourself, and write a response on a copy. The deputy's going to serve you a copy. You can go and Xerox copy it, and then write a response to it in the back that this is all babble. I don't know what you're talking about. We cannot have a proper communication, and send it back to the court, and they'll drop it. They should drop it. Yeah.
If you don't know how to respond, I know a guy that does.
Yeah, there we go. So, and we're going to be working on that to respond. I'm looking into it myself. I, for one, would respond to this deputy. Now, I didn't have this in the program, but I'm going to tell you anyway. If a deputy came out and served me a summons, number one, I'm going to take a look at it, because he's not going to serve it to me. He's going to ask me if it's me on there. And when I see the all capitals that are saying, no, you get the wrong person. And I can prove it to him, because now, like Bill had just said, I declared myself, and I redid my name, and I filed it with the clerk of court. I redid it as capital R in Robert, a dash, Dean, and a semicolon, House, and changed it.
The all capitals for the name, that's Roman law.
Yes.
And there's a set of 3 words that defines that structure of capitals. It's capitis dominice maxima. It's the maximum diminishing of your person.
Exactly.
Maximum.
You'll read it in those papers.
It basically means you're a slave.
Yeah, it's in those papers that I just handed
We've
out.
adopted Roman law.
Yeah, Bill.
The Youre is in Bouvier's dictionary.
What's in Bouvier's?
De Youre.
Okay.
De Youre.
The jury.
It's right there.
Okay. So, I would tell the deputy that, and if I have any qualms about what he had served me, I can write it on the back of it at that point. And then he has to turn that copy back in with a receipt of service, showing that I got a copy. But I don't have to accept it because it's not mine. So what I would tell them to do is to take it back and correct it. And if he takes it back and corrects it, or if he doesn't take it back and corrects it, to say, look, it's my duty to just serve it to you. You've identified, we think it's you. Well, are you willing to commit a crime because you think, and I just proved to you? Now, I will take out my paper that I have, and I will show them, and it's similar to this. It's laminated, okay? And I give it to them and show, see, this is my name right here. That's who I am, and I file that with the clerk of court, with the public records. You're not serving me, you're serving somebody else, so you gotta go find somebody else. And he has to take that back to the court. I would as a deputy. I would have to take it, and I've done it before, because there was something else wrong on it, the address or something else, or an age or whatever. But you take it back to the court and get it corrected. In my case now, what I'm saying here, I believe that the court probably will not correct it, because now they know they're messing with somebody that knows what's going on, and they don't want to confront that. Chances are they're not going to. If they do, we've already been through this, me and Roger Dowdell and Jim Johnson, with a federal court in behalf of Terry Trussell. But that's another story, we're not getting into that right now. So, moving on here. You got the references. Okay, the birth certificate. Now, we mentioned that the birth certificate was the beginning of the get-go. So, I've got another little read for you here real quick. And I wrote this on the 27th of May this year. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:1. And then God created man in his own image. Genesis 1:27. God also gave man the 10 commandments in Exodus 20. Men of God are not to take away any commandments or word of God, nor add to them. But men not of God have done so. Men of evil and under the guise of Satan, under copyright and patents, created codes, statutes, USCs, UCCs, etc. This has been done under the leadership of the people over all of man who will consent to him and his claim on and of the earth over that of God and men of God. the leadership of the Pope. Most men of God do not understand how Satan has used the Pope and his followers on earth to fraud the men of God without their knowledge. He first deceived men of God when Satan as a serpent, Genesis 3, 1 through 6, deceived Eve in eating the fruit of the tree, and Eve gave consent. As the same Pope Constantine convinced the kings of the lands that he had superior power over them. He did this by deceiving them into consenting to that power. This tactic, and I'm going to use that word quite often now from this point on, the tactic of consent was created and has pursued men of God from the beginning. As time advanced, so did the fraudulent tactic of consent, to include that of the birth certificate. Birth certificate defined in Black's Fourth, quote, a document in use in the English Custom House. No goods can be exported by certificate except foreign goods, formerly imported, on which the whole or a part of the customs paid on importation is to draw back, unquote. Under fraudulent laws of today, when a child is born in a hospital, that child's parents are deceived when they are told that the certificate is mandated under law along with a footprint of the child and was for the child's protection as its record of birth. A portion, if not all, of the placenta is also kept for the DNA and sent along with the certificate to Hull. The oldest part of Gatineau is spelled G-A-T-I-N-E-A-U, Quebec, Canada. Roger mentioned this on last Wednesday night's meeting. Eric calling.
Where'd you get that from?
I wrote it. I created it.
Oh,
I'll give you a copy.
I've got it. I got it down, but I've got it.
It's there. Yeah, it's there.
Get done?
Oh, some of it was sort of cousins. Cousins. Yeah. Yeah, I got a list on here. Anything other than a born-on record is a fraud. The parents did not know, and the child is too young to know. Thus, the deceit of consent continues throughout the child's life. The birth certificate is the beginning of all the consented deceit brought unto man today. Our forefathers who created the Constitution of the small U, United States of America, knew of this and included into that document that any law which is repugnant to the Constitution, which is based on God's law, the Ten Commandments, was null and void and had no standing from its creation and no enforcement. Should this all be true thus far, then all one would have to do is to nullify the fraudulent birth certificate by identifying the understanding of its definition with intent to harm through deceit. This could be done through an affidavit of truth, as you will find in Shinola 101 and 102. You might want to pull them up. I can email you a copy of it. It's 82 pages long, I think. It's Shinola, spelled S-H-I-N-O-L-A, 101 and 102. They tell you how to do this. And what I just did here is I filed this in the public records, and basically it says, I am a non-citizen people. I am not a U.S. citizen, quote. I was defrauded of my birthright status and hereby reclaim it in full. All agreements and signatures by my hand seeming to agree otherwise are null and void. Abit anitu non pro tuc. Notary does not release jurisdiction. And it was notarized by the notary, which wasn't necessary, but sometimes they will not accept it unless it is. So my signature's there with a thumbprint, and I got 3 other witnesses with a thumbprint. The only other thing that I would recommend is once you get it stamped, according to David Windmiller, you sign your name, print your name across the stamp, and that makes it the original copy. And if they fail to get a copy, you to sign their copy, they do not have an original copy. You have the original copy. And this one here, actually, the way Shinola 101 requests you to do it is to get at least 2 people with identical statements that knew of your parents and you as a child at the time of your birth. That wasn't too hard for me to do, and I've since done it. And here's where the site is on Canada, where the birth certificates go. And one of the facts here that I have, in case anybody wants to look at that, I had to look it up anyway. I've got a birth certificate, mine here. And one other thing I want to say on this, why this is copyright. If you're going to go and do like Anna Von Reitz and some of these other people are doing. When I was in the sheriff's office, we used to get experts to certify things. Most often checks. And what these experts were handwritten. The checks itself is known as an exemplar. But these experts know how to compare the signatures from other documentation, and then they can verify them and certify them as being true. But the problem with taking your birth certificate is, even though it's got my name on it, it's not my property. The certificate itself and its design is copyright and created by somebody else, and you can't tamper with it. Again, I think when you look it up in Bill's, when you see it there, they'll explain that to you. This one particular one here, it says that it's supposed to be signed and there's no signatures on it anywhere. It's got my name printed as a capital R and a capital D, capital H in house, and the rest are small letters, so it doesn't have the capital print. I since sent away to the state of Minnesota, sent them a letter to try to get a copy. I requested a copy from the state. The state should have a copy because they're supposed to record it. Well, I get a fraudulent letter back from them, and I'll tell you why it's fraudulent, because there's no signature on it, for one thing. So it lets me know that everything is more likely fraudulent on it than anything. Thank you for your correspondence. Minnesota Secretary of State Office does not record or retain birth certificates. I believe you will need to contact the county directly. I hope this information is helpful to you. Thank you. Have a delightful day. Sincerely, but no signature. Whenever I get something that has no signature on it, more than often it's a fraud because they do not want to get involved. They put their signature on it, they are involved, whether they like it or not. Another thing, as Windmiller explains on papers and stuff like this, any legal document, your summonses, anything that's in a box. Picture this being a box sitting up here right now. If there's a box right here and it's empty, there's nothing in it, could you tell? You couldn't tell. You couldn't tell what's in that box. And then when you sit in a jury box, they can't tell what's in there either. And that's how they deal with it in their systems. Everything that's in a box is a fraud.
Do you know how to get out of the box?
Technically, you can just draw a line to get out on a piece of paper, right?
Draw a line.
To do that. But
the inside of the box.
Right, from the outside inside, if I drew a line right through here.
On each end of the box, draw a line.
Right there, I just got out of the box.
You just got out of the box.
But this is, what did I just do though? That's not my document.
Right.
Okay, so I just created a fraud to try to fix a fraud. That's not the way I would recommend doing it. I would recommend doing it this way, where it is stated that you were defrauded at birth. They know it's because of the birth certificate. If you need to put something a little bit more in there to make it a little clearer, you can. But Shinola 101, it pretty much explains how to do that. And I've got documentations, letters, directions, and everything if anybody's interested in doing that. You should do it. Everybody should do it. A certificate. That is a certificate of birth. So right on it, this is a certificate of live birth. Sometimes they just say certificate of birth. This one's a certificate of live birth. Black's Fourth, definition of certificate. I think I just went through that, didn't I? Yeah, I already did that. Which is a foreign goods with a drawback. Now, that leads into another fraud, which is a Social Security. When that was created in 1936.
I want to throw one out at you. You said foreign goods. What was that again that you said? What was that statement that you made?
How about the certificate?
Yep.
A document in use in the English Custom House. No goods can be exported by certificate except foreign goods, formerly imported. They've got you listed on a birth certificate as foreign goods.
It is, because you are is an enemy of the state foreign?
Yes.
To the state?
To the state of D.C.
Right,
Right.
right.
But now,
Well, that's the
we're going
government
to
we
get
got.
into something else to
So we're
where,
an enemy of the state, therefore we are foreign goods.
because the crown is taking over
Because we're
DC.
treated as goods.
Right.
We're not treated as.
That's
a
right.
good.
And you can see how far back this goes.
Oh, my God.
See? It goes back so far. It used to be at one time, there was no such thing as a birth certificate. Your parents would just simply write your date of birth in the Bible, and that would be the only record of it. And they just done whatever they wanted to do because it's from the get-go. And this happens, this has gone, the fraud has gone on, well, like I said, I've already said from the history of time, but it continues. Even in the Social Security number. Now, I think, I got copies of this. Bear with me a minute here. I kind of get my...
Let me make a comment, if you
ahead.
don't mind, Bob, while you're looking. Ken Doe's wanted to know how much the de facto was using his signature on the other side. So what he did is he put in a request, Freedom of Information Act request, to find out who was using his signature or his name, okay, or his name or his non-registered patent or non-registered trademark or whatever. He got back 16 pages.
Okay, I did that exactly same thing through Roger sent to the Dunes number, and I checked my Social Security number with it. There's 180 corporations using my Social Security number. I checked, my wife thought it was interesting. She let me put hers on there, and we just told each other, look, we just gave the world our Social Security number over the computer now. Right?
Oh.
But anyway, we checked hers, and she had 60. I meant to bring something out of that, but I had way too much to go for.
And please understand, since the computer and since the advent of the internet, that they are trading us internationally.
Right, across the world. Here's a website you might want to go
Past the
to.
United States borders.
This is for your Social Security number. This is the information about the Social Security card. I pulled it up under Social Security number. It's all spelled out, just a Social Security number, and then I went to the Wikipedia site. That's what this document's from, okay? And just to point out real quick, in the United States, Social Security number, SSN, is a 9-digit number issued to U.S. citizens, paramount or permanent residents, and temporary working residents under Section 205C2 of the Social Security Act, codified 42 U.S.C., subsection 405, so on and so on and so on. The number is issued to an individual by the Social Security Administration, an independent agency of the United States government. Although its primary purpose is to track individuals for Social Security purposes, Social Security number has become a de facto national identification number for taxation and other purposes. Social Security number may be obtained by applying on Form SS-5, application for a Social Security number card. History. Social Security number was first issued by the Social Security Administration in November 1935 as part of the New Deal Social Security program. Within 3 months, 25 million members were issued. On November 24, 1936, 1,074 of the nation's 45,000 post offices were designated typing centers to type up Social Security cards that were then sent to Washington, D.C. on December 1, 1936 as part of the public campaign for the new program. Joseph L. Fay of the Social Security Administration became effective.
In 1917, they had an act dealing with the enemy, which U.S. citizens were not included. Then in 1933, they changed that act, or they upgraded it or whatever, to include the U.S. citizen as an enemy of the state. That's the New Deal. Welcome to the New
But
Deal.
we're going to go through and how to show you how to get out of that through the Exportation Act and all that. But let me continue real quick with one more group here. Although the Social Security Act itself does not require a person to have a Social Security number, SSN, to live and work in the United States. The Internal Revenue Code does generally require the use of the Social Security number by individuals for for federal tax purposes. If you don't know already, the IRS is fraudulent, and that is again another. It's a given. They fraud you by deceiving you, and then you consent to it. And I've been guilty of it. I've consented to it. Important, most parents apply for the Social Security number for their dependent children in order to include them on their income tax returns as dependent. Everyone filing a tax return as taxpayer or spouse must have a Social Security number or tax identification number. Since the IRS is unable to process returns or post payments for anyone without the SSN or the TI. So you can read some more on that. I got a little bit more highlighted there, but I'm not going to get into it right now. Okay. We go back as far as the Magna Carta, and Jeff, you want to hand this out? I had everything in sequence here. I don't know what happened. Oh, here it is. Now, what I did here for convenience, I got a copy of the Magna Carta, but it was kind of difficult because in it there's so much of he, them, we, they, but they don't explain who he, we, them, they are. So I believe I deciphered it to the point where if I am corrected, I haven't been corrected yet, and I've been passing this around to a lot of people. So when you can, if you find anything wrong with it, get back to me and let me know what is wrong. Basically what this says is the Chief Justice is a sheriff. Now the sheriff, if he doesn't do his job properly, for instance, one of his jobs is to call in a grand jury. He's supposed to do that, even today. Not the state attorney and not a judge. He is supposed to do it. And if he fails to do it, then it's up to the assemblies to take the responsibility in their hands, and they do it. Again, we're getting back to the assemblies. That's the power of the assemblies. I'm not going to read this right now, but it should be read for the camera, but and anybody wants it, they can get it from me. And if you all got a pen right now, let me give you my website. I know most of you got it right here, but it's Tree Farmer, spelled T-R-E with one E in a tree, Farmer, F-A-R-M-H, Tree Farmer H, at CenturyLink, CENTURY.net. Now, Hagen Smith is called me one time and asked me to put in something for the new Constitution that they were going to try to write up. He's been working on it, and they've got quite a bit done on it for the counties. And this is something that I had sent to him about the sheriff. Basically is the truth, and this is what it should be. And if it's going to be defined in another Constitution or rewritten, it should be somewhat such as this. Defined as in Magna Carta, paragraph 61, the Chief Justice is the sheriff and answers to the people through the grand jury and or by way of the 4 grand jury administrators. Candidates for sheriff must qualify by swearing and signing an affidavit of oath to the county constitution and United States Constitution, that small u, announcing or affirming his or her intent to conduct a lawful campaign for said office. He/she must also acquire a bond as defined in this Constitution. So see also the definition of lawful in this Constitution. Upon being elected sheriff for a term of 4 years, he/she no longer qualifies as a candidate for that office and must not re-qualify for that office again until the passing of 1 term. He/she may qualify for any other office after the 4-year term of the past office has been reached. Duties of the sheriff. Upon being elected, the candidate, now sheriff, will give public notice of his or her oath and bond according to this Constitution. The sheriff or deputies of will be responsible for conducting thorough investigations of all complaints of the people against that of another or his or her property. The written findings, along with evidence and affidavits, will be forwarded as the investigative report to the grand jury administrators for review. It doesn't go to a state attorney, it doesn't go to a judge. The sheriff may or may not take any further action depending on the administrator's findings. And that pretty much would sum it up. Anybody has anything else to add? I appreciate it. Voter registration. Let's move on to that. Another one of the frauds, birth certificate, social security card, driver's license. Oh, the voter registration. Here, you want to hand some of these out, Jeff? This is my favorite document. Notice how it's all in blocks? What's wrong with that? Right off the bat, you already know, right? It's a fraud. And notice up in the upper left corner, just below the corner, it says criminal offense. It is third-degree felony to submit false information. Maximum penalties are $500 fine or 5 years in prison. This is why I filled one of these out once a long, long time ago, and I've let it elapse because there was just something not setting right with me on it. And it also has boxes for your social security number. It has a box for your signature. And it has a little check mark up here that says, are you a citizen of the United States of America, yes or no? Does anybody in here know what a citizen is? A citizen. What is a citizen?
Subject.
With a small C or capital.
Here it is. Here it is. Hand these out too, Jeff.
There is a difference.
There is definitely a difference. Basically, you are in order to be a citizen, you have to be an employee of the federal government, working on either one of its forts or ports, or within the 10 square miles of DC, or residing in any of those, or its territories. Now, by filling that form out and you're living in Florida, are you a citizen? You just committed a fraud. So, with that being said, I have just another note here about what that really means.
You're going to be an attorney for just a few.
All right, sure, I can handle it. Just don't call me any bad names.
Bob, come sit right here.
Just did.
Bob, come sit right here. Mr. Attorney, you sit here.
You gonna put me in a box here now?
Uh-oh. Just remember what he
Now
said.
this was on Ken Dost exiting Babylon. You can listen to it. It's about 40 minutes. Golly, but it's raining.
Hey, just so you know, everybody got their windows up?
Yeah,
It's
raining.
super poor now.
Okay. All right.
That's my car right there. Oh, well.
You're a U.S. citizen. You're in the system. Okay. You got Bob over here. Small caps. Bob. All right. Small. He's in the day shirt. Okay. He's a living man. Now, Bob, get over here and walk over here and sit in this chair. Okay. Now you got Bob, the de facto fictitious entity. Okay. Bob, the de facto fictitious entity. Okay. Just imagine Bob still over here. Living, dead. Now you've got Mr. Attorney. The bar. The bar. The bar separates this from this. The bar. Okay? We're going to know within 3 months.
Let me finish what Bill had just said first, because I have a little bit of a problem with that. Because you know why we're doing all that in the first place? Because somebody frauded us with a birth certificate, correct?
No, they actually didn't fraud us. They put out as a business, this is our business, they sent out paperwork, and we filled it out without rebutting it or questioning it.
But now we are.
Yes.
But wait, Bob.
Right.
But now we are.
It's not fraud,
But
really.
wait, Bob. They notice us. They notice us. They notice us. They notice us through the media. They notice us through their statutes. They notice us on all these paperwork we fill out. And then what did Bush say? there is a new world order coming, that's notice. That is public notice.
Right.
On tape.
That's why they're trying to fight that New World Order right now.
I understand that. But you got to understand, we as the, whatever you want to call us, dead entity or U.S. citizen or whatever we are, we have been noticed. They're just doing, they do it in the movies. I see it all the time.
I would say we could call ourselves unaware people. Now we're becoming aware. Call it awake, call it whatever you want to call it. But we were unaware of the scam that was put out, and we joined into it. Now we're awake or aware. Now we have to get out of the scam. That's all. We don't want to partake of it anymore. We're aware of what's going on. That's as simple as I can see it. And if you're going to do that with critical mass of people all at the same time, going out petitions and saying, hey, we know what's going on now. You know, that's what Adam Van Ritz does by suing on behalf of us. That's what she's doing. She's already got.
So then,
this
are we looking at sending all these petitions to like the United Nations,
Well,
to the president, or
that's
who?
part of it.
The Pope? She's went to
Not
the
the
Pope.
Pope.
People working
He's
on
part
it
of the
right
tyranny.
now. It's
That's already been being done.
Yeah, we can't. You don't have to worry. There's people out
Okay,
there a lot
but
smarter
our
than
problem
us.
right here, right now, in our own county, is up to us to do what with this county and try to keep it maintained and away from the rest of it going to the United Nations.
Who are you referring to
Bill?
that is already working on this?
Ken knows.
What?
And Don Schiavone.
Is there
That's the two you gave
is there a
us.
site or a location? I
Ken
can go?
knows.
Copyright Act,
Next to Babylon,
1790.
That's his latest.
How do you
Copyright.
spell the last name? D-O-S-T?
DOST. Now, I'm going to give you, if I can find it here, I'm going to give you an example of notice in a movie.
Do we have to leave at 6:30 precisely?
No, I don't think so.
I
Why,
think
is
they have
it
enough-
that time now?
It's 10 after 6 already.
Oh, okay, I'm almost done. I've just got one more handout to give right here. This
And
came
Who
out,
was the other person?
Maine Republic Mail, email
Don
alert.
Schiavone, but he was on the
If
court
you
of
all want to do
record
it,
I hate your
Friday night,
spelling that I watch.
and that's probably on YouTube, but I don't know how it's listed.
I'm done.
I want to add to this indoctrination propaganda. You know, I've been doing the COPWATCH for 4 years now, and I've did some videos on my theory on why we're so brainwashed too, and I'm sure you guys know this too. If you look at the TV schedule, every other show is on cops and courts
and
and
lawyers.
attorneys. Just on and on. The movies are everything. The good guy, bad guy. It's just like,
Bad boy, bad boy.
oh, it's just absolute.
Remember when Hill
indoctrination.
Street Blues came out?
Yep.
That's when I stopped watching cop shows.
Well, guess what? Remember Perry Mason, or are you guys too old for that?
I kind of.
I even hated it when I
That
was
was
there.
training us
Correct. Yes. Yes.
in a
Literally.
de facto court.
Literally.
One more quick thing I want to show you guys here. 42 USC code subsection. This is about Social Security. It's under number 666. This is how they take your children away and what gives them the right. It's all right there if you want to look that up. That's what very important for a lot of people that have child
You have a copy of that?
problems. This is the only copy I have right here, but let me tell you where you get it at.
What's the street address in Washington?
Let me just give you the code.
666.
It's just write the code down.
Where?
It's
In
42
Washington, D.C.
Oh yes.
United States Code.
The Mason.
It would be Title 42 U.S. Code.
Wow.
That's where you go to
Subsection
be a
666.
30-30 agreement.
I just, a person just left the house and I went to and they left a Mason's Bible back there.
And one more thing I would like to ask you guys,
Every ritual that the Masons do.
Jeff, if you'll hand these out. I made a critique sheet
Did you know
here.
there's a
It's all
King
voluntary,
James version of
okay?
Mason's Bible?
I gotta bring that, let you look at that.
Oh, my God.
This is the last thing I have. It's a critique sheet. What I'd like to know is this been an informative enough meeting to go on to have a meeting like this, like either once a month or every 2 weeks or whatever? You guys right here can vote on it. If we do it, we do it. We don't, we don't.
We
The
can
main-
also have conference calls and do the same thing somewhat.
We can, but we need to see new faces. We need to recruit more people to come in and see what's going on. And I got all this stuff that I just went through. I could sit back and use this as I can hone it a little bit more and do it as a training class for the new people. It was basically what, an hour and a half?
I actually agree with Mike is saying. With technology now, you can literally Facebook live stream this crap and make comments as it's going on.
Thanks to you right now, maybe we could just double this amount by just with that.
Well, I agree, but I agree with Mike. Not everybody can make it all the time. So the
I-
ones that
sure.
missed it today, they could have been watching on Facebook Live. I mean, if somebody wanted to donate to somebody, because that is a lot of data. But I mean, Facebook Live is changing everything. It is unbelievable, man. Even this
So
past,
is YouTube Live.
Even this past weekend, guess who did Facebook live stream? Sheriff Bill PRUMMELL opening up the new place for policing for profit. Unbelievable.
See, now if I was sheriff, I would think that you wouldn't want to be on something like that or doing that kind of stuff on there.
He's going full propaganda right now. I mean, big time propaganda.
Well, I know. Did you see the movie that they made, the 30-minute movie a while back about the sovereign citizen?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, everything that we're using, I tell the people about it, they turned it around and made it an evil thing.
Yeah.
What we're claiming. You know?
Well, Bob, not only that, me and Mike got him on video. He admitted that COPWATCH and the internet is waking people up. They don't trust the government anymore. They don't trust the cops anymore. They don't trust the sheriff. And they're having a hard time hiring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know
because we're putting the truth out of all the crap that's
because
going on.
who's going to want to work? I wouldn't want to work there again.
Oh, God, I
don't want to work there
again.
again. Not if I got to work under the pretenses that I'm going around busting people under codes and statutes.
Just for policing for profit, period. Policing for profit.
And I'll tell you right now, most of the old timers that are here in Charlotte County right now that I used to work with, they know this. They know this. They're just in there for retirement and they're going to get out.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Sheriff County COPWATCH with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it. 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, if you know, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. You know, 47,000 of you so far right now, you know, $1 a day, I mean, $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head, help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.